Morning. It's 11:30. I said I'd start, so here we go. I'm going to start. My name is Peter. I'm with Believe English. Okay, I figured this whole thing out. I'm with Believe English, and we're going to do a live stream today to hear some of your questions about English. I'm still figuring it out how to get this just right. So, hi, Con. Thank you, V. Sorry. Hi, welcome. Can you? Oh. I hate live stream. Okay. I want this to be like this. Hi you. Ha. So today I want to talk a little bit about sorry, I'm still shaking this thing around. I want to talk a little bit about my experiences as a teacher. I taught English in high school in the United States for about 10 years. Good morning. And then I taught English, and I do teach English now in Japan. I'm from the United States. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. That's where I grew up. And then I moved to Asia, and I taught university in Japan. I went back to the United States, taught high school in the United States for about 15 years. When I was teaching high school, I was teaching ESL. So I was teaching English for people who were immigrating to the United States. These are people like you, people who might be 16, 17 years old, and they grew up in another country and they did not speak English, and now they were going to live in the United States. And they needed to learn English first before they could join regular classes. So I taught them for about 15 years. And now I'm here in Japan teaching at universities for a lot of people who would like to go to the United States to study abroad. So we'll talk a little bit about the way we teach in the United States and in Japan, and answer your questions. I hope you guys will come up with lots of interesting questions. I'm Peter. I Believe English. Let me see if I can do this. So I also am on Facebook. I'm joining this group today for the live stream. And I do run another Facebook page. It's up there. It's called Believe English. It's also a website, and it's on YouTube, and it's on Instagram. It's all over the place. And when I do things on Facebook, it looks like this. Everything that I do in English. One thing that I would say for everybody all the time is if you want to learn English, you really need to do things in English. Many of the group sites that I see, good morning, many of the group sites that I see in Vietnam and in Japan are people, are people talking about English in their own language. And that's something that happens in Japan a lot. When people study English in Japan, they study about English in Japanese. So they become very good at taking English tests. They don't become so good at speaking English and using English. And you need to be careful about that too, because it is often easier and faster to get an answer in your first language. For you guys, that's Vietnamese. If you have a question about English, it's quick and it's easy to ask somebody in Vietnamese, what is this? What's the answer? And be done with it. But that doesn't make you any better at English. It makes your Vietnamese really good, and it gets you ready maybe to take an English test, but it doesn't get you ready to use English in your life. So find some balance. Use the groups that you have to get support. And then find places that you can use English for real. A lot of people in Vietnam like to go to the parks and find the foreign tourists and talk to them, and that's a really good idea. And people get online and get in groups, and that's where you start to get a little bit too comfortable and you start doing everything in your first language. So I would encourage you to look out for pages that are done in English. My page, Believe English, is always in English. There are plenty of others too. I like me. I hope you like me too. So you could check out my page. And right now I am able to respond to everybody's comments. So if people put something on my page, they get an answer from me. I'm seeing a lot of hellos, which is great. Good morning, everybody. Oh, great. I see a question. I'm figuring this out. So you asked, when I first taught in Japan, did the students there talk to me a lot? The very first time that I taught in Japan, I taught in a very small class, and we met every day. And in those classes, the students did talk to me a lot. Because the class was small, because we met every day, and because I made a real effort to talk to the students. One of them told me, actually, the thing that they liked the most was I learned all of their names before they learned all of their names. And my being able to use their names was really comforting for them. So I learned their names. I made sure in the first week of class that we took a special trip. The class was in a rural area, and we went on a hike up into the mountains, just for fun. Not for English, but for fun. And that let everybody know that we were in a group and we sort of belonged to each other and we cared about each other. And the other thing that I did that the students commented on was I had an office and I had office hours. And when students came to my office hours, of course, I was there. And the important thing for them was I never told anybody that I had to go. I never said, it's time to leave. I never said, office hours are over, you have to leave now. I waited for my students to tell me that they were ready to go, so that they knew somebody was listening to them. And that's super important. If you feel like somebody is listening to you, you will talk to them. And that's something many Japanese students feel now, and I think some Vietnamese. And this is true for my students now. Many of them don't talk to me a lot because they're afraid I won't listen to them, because maybe their English isn't good enough. And my classes now are quite big, so I don't get a chance to reach out to people as much, which is unfortunate. And that's a little different, I think. It has been in my experience with Vietnam. Kan Lee is asking me what did I love most about Vietnam, and one of the things that I have loved is how open people are. People are mostly not afraid to come up and say hello and talk to me. And kind of like when I was with my students in my office, and I never said to them, it's time to go. When I'm meeting with people in Vietnam, they're not in a hurry to go anywhere. Everybody has time to sit and talk. And that's really remarkable. Many people in the world don't have that time, or they won't make that time. And my experience so far in Vietnam is people are willing to make that time for each other. And I really like that. I like to go and meet people in the park, or people that I know a little better. We go to a cafe and we sit down and we talk, and nobody's worried about when it's going to end. And the cafes in Vietnam are really wonderful. All the lights and the music, I really like that a lot too. And the food, of course, is very good. Excuse me. Okay, Kan Vi is asking, what do I think about Vietnamese students? I kind of started answering that question, and I'll say a little bit more. In the past, people were very open to talking and trying. And I still see that some. I don't see it as much as I used to see it. I think a little bit like in Japan, which is good, the economy is getting better and life is getting better. And so people have more choices. In Japan, people don't really have to learn English. Japan has an awesome economy. Japan has Toyota and Panasonic and Honda and Sony and Nintendo. Japanese people don't really need to learn English to have an interesting life. A lot of the interesting things are happening here in Japan. In Vietnam, in the past, you really needed English to improve your life. And now it helps a lot to have English to improve your life, but things are getting better. So some people aren't as committed to learning English, and they don't feel that drive. But I do like my experience with Vietnamese students is how deeply committed they are to their learning and how much they're willing to try and give to their studies. And they're not afraid to just get out there and take some risks and say hello and how are you and do their best. And I really appreciate that. Good morning and hello. I see lots more people coming on. That's great. Nguyen loves cafes. I love, super love cafes. I hope some of you maybe are sitting in a cafe now, relaxing and enjoying yourselves while we do this live stream. Toy Nguyen is asking now, in Japan, do people speak English much? People can, but people don't. If you come to Japan, you will see a lot of English. Train station names, lots of signs are in English. If you try to speak English with people, eventually most people will come up with 1 or 2 words, and there will always be somebody somewhere who will know enough English that they can help you. But people who do know some English, they're very reluctant, they're very shy to use it. They're afraid that they'll make a mistake, and they don't want to do that. They are much more comfortable with reading and writing English, and speaking English is a little too scary for them. So often they won't, unless you have the time to let them be comfortable. For me, I speak a little bit of Japanese, so I'll start speaking to them in Japanese, and my Japanese isn't that good. And a lot of people will switch to English to avoid talking to me in Japanese, which is okay, it's cool. Good morning, more people are coming in. With my students now, that is a problem though. Sometimes they won't speak English, even when we're in an English class. They're really afraid. They've been conditioned by tests. Everything is a test. And that's part of the Japanese education system. Everything is a test, and you need to do well on the test. And the Japanese students are very, very good at doing well on the test. But that means they need to be very, very careful. And in an English class where you're talking to each other, you don't have time to be careful. Class is going, things are happening, and people are talking. And you can't stop and think and plan and check something. And so some Japanese just don't. And I struggle with that. Many teachers struggle with how can we let our students feel comfortable and get them so that they can speak more and more English. Hamon is asking me about how I feel about the conditions of working in Japan. For me, the conditions are pretty good. One reason is I am a foreigner. So many things that Japanese might be expected to do at work, they don't expect me to do those things. I'm just the foreign guy, and I do what I do and I go away, and that's okay. If I were a Japanese person, the working conditions would be more difficult for me. There would be many more expectations. You need to be here, you need to do this. Even sometimes when doing this is doing nothing, but you need to be here because that's part of what we do. But I'm not Japanese, so they're like, oh, the foreign guy, he went somewhere, and that's okay. That's what foreigners do. So I kind of like that. And I teach in a university, so my hours are a little bit flexible. I don't have to be at the school from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. I can come in when my classes begin. I can stay later if I want to. It's a very flexible schedule for me. And as a teacher, I also have the longer vacations. And I love using that time to do things like work on Believe English, which is my Facebook page and website, and to participate in things like this live stream. Today is my last day of vacation. Tomorrow I go back to work. Ha is asking another question. Do I remember all my students' names now? No, I don't. And I feel really, really bad about that. I wish that I could remember all of my students' names. Right now, and next semester, tomorrow, it will start. I will have 6 different classes, and each class has about 30 people. And I will see those people once a week. I also do an informal support center where different people come in every day. So every day I will see 10 different people, and I don't remember everybody's names. And I do feel really bad about that. I do try to use people's names when I remember them, but then I feel guilty because there's somebody whose name I don't remember, and they wonder, why does Peter keep calling Yuko, and Peter never called me by my name, and that gets a little bit sensitive, and I don't have a good answer for that. but I don't. It is difficult to remember everybody's names. Nguyen saying that Japanese culture might be a little bit like Vietnam. I think, well, you might know better, but the thing that I notice is certainly around the testing. The testing is very important in Japan, and I can see that it's very important in Vietnam. And sometimes I feel it becomes too important in both cultures. I see that a little bit in the way that you guys are working on your English for the tests, and you're talking to each other in Vietnamese, which is not English, about the test, and you're giving each other the quick, easy answer, A, B, or C, which might help satisfy that urge, did I get the question right? But it doesn't tell you about English. And you're not thinking about English. You're only thinking about the test. Did I get the test answer correct? And if you did, that's good. And that's enough. And what does it mean? What is the English? That doesn't really matter. A similar question, and Trang Tien is asking this, how do you feel about your Japanese students? Well, I feel really good about them as people. I like them. I feel kind of frustrated for them. They are required to learn English. Many of them don't really want to learn English. And they come to college and they start to take English again. And they don't really want to, but they don't know what else to do with their lives. They haven't really thought about it. And Japanese culture doesn't really encourage this. Vietnamese culture, I think, in many ways doesn't encourage it either. Hey, you, what do you want to do? What's important to you, and how can you make that happen? In the United States, we have a little bit more of that, and I certainly push that at my students in high school. You know, what do you want? And how is that going to happen for you? And it does not have to be going to college, and it does not have to be English. It has to be what's important to you, and how can we make that possible. My Japanese students don't get the chance to think that way, and a lot of them are kind of sad. You know, they're very quiet and reluctant to study because what are they doing? They don't know. And that's hard. It's hard to push yourself and to do your best when you don't really know what you're doing or why you want to be doing it. Okay. Oh, sorry. So somebody now is clarifying her question. Not how many people, but how to speak the Japanese names. The Japanese names for me are a lot easier to pronounce than the Vietnamese names. And you guys might notice this as I try sometimes to say your names, like Ha Yu, I think, is the correct pronunciation for your name, but I'm never really sure, and I'm always a little bit shy. I shouldn't be, but I am, about pronouncing Vietnamese names correctly. Japanese vowel sounds are similar to English. They tend to stay flat like English, Peter, and they don't have, you guys have the yo hoi, yo nang, yo ngã, yo sắc, yo huyên, and that kind of, whoa, I can't hear it very well because I'm not used to it, and I'm not sure that I make it correctly, and I get very nervous when it's somebody's name. I don't want to say your name wrong. Huang is asking, will I come to the Vietnam in the future? Yes, absolutely. I'm not exactly sure when in the future that will happen, but I will come and I will tell people on the Facebook page, hey, I'm coming and let's get together. And I hope that we can get together and get to know each other as people, because it's a little bit weird only seeing people on Facebook. I don't really know who you are. You don't really know who I am, what it's like to talk, really talk to me and look in the eyes and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really important. There are people on my Facebook page, Believe English, who comment a lot, which I love, and I hope that you will comment also. Part of the reason I think some of those people comment a lot is that they do know me personally. I have been to Vietnam recently. I was there about a year ago. I visited classes of some of my friends and met their students. So those people really know me. We went out together, we did a class trip together, we played games together, and they know who I am. And so they're not hesitant at all to comment on the page. And when they're commenting on my page, they're really talking to me, not to the internet. So I will come soon. Wow, sorry. Okay, are they easier? Yes, the Japanese names are much easier for me to say than Vietnamese names. Hai Hang. Zung is asking, Which aspects of English do you think are the most difficult? One, as a teacher, pronunciation. And it's a little frustrating because pronunciation is very, very important to you all. And I think Vietnamese speaking people who teach English are much better at explaining English pronunciation than people like me are. Because people like me, we just say, that's it, that's what it is, that's how we say it, okay? And that's not really okay, because you don't really know. If you tell me how to say your name correctly and say, my name is Zung, and I say, okay, but I didn't hear something. I didn't hear the or the huyin. And when I say it back to you, it might sound right to me, and it still sounds wrong to you. And it can be difficult to explain to me how to do that correctly. So pronunciation can be very, very tricky, but you don't have to be a perfect English speaker. You don't have to sound like me. You can sound like you, and that's okay. You need to be able to be understood. And that's a standard I try to emphasize for my students. You will have an accent. You will sound different. And I will know, oh, that guy was born in Vietnam. I was just in California for a wedding of some very dear friends from Vietnam, people who left when they were children. And they still sound Vietnamese. I can hear it. And at the wedding, there were many, many, many Vietnamese people. Some of them were born in the United States, and they sound kind of like me. And some of them were not. And I could hear it right away. I know, okay, this person was born in the United States. This person immigrated from Vietnam, which was fine. It was beautiful. I loved it. And I could understand everybody. When they had an accent, it wasn't about, I can't understand you. It's just, oh, that's interesting. When you talk to people in Vietnam, and you can hear right away, oh, that guy's from Hanoi, that guy's from Haiphong, that person's from Hue, and that's okay. You understand them. You also hear an accent, and I hope you find it beautiful. I love it. But it doesn't stop you from understanding them. So if you have a little bit of that, that's okay. In a similar question, Fan is asking, speaking for IELTS tests, but I don't have coherence. So I'm not sure, Fan, from that question, when you say I don't have coherence, if you mean that there's something about your pronunciation that people are not able to understand what you're saying, or if there's something about your syntax, the grammar, the way you're organizing your words that makes it difficult for people to understand you. So if you want to ask a question, again, I'll go back down through the thread. See if you can give me a little bit more of a clearer idea of something that somebody has said to you about why they're having trouble understanding you. Nguyen is asking about learning Japan, but no chance to speak Japanese. How can you improve your skill of speaking Japanese? Find some Japanese people. I know they're around in Saigon. I've been to Saigon the most, and I know there are Japanese people there. There are a couple restaurants with Japanese people in them. There are plenty of Japanese tourists. And there's one of my friends, Rika Takeuchi. She has a Facebook page. She's from Japan. She lives in Saigon right now, and she's trying to make a name for herself there. I'm gonna try to pull up her page here and show you. And she does events. She does like events that reach out between Japan and Vietnam, and like hosts them and MCs them. And this, let's see, this is her Facebook. Whoa, this is her Facebook page. Rika Takeuchi, and she lives in Saigon, and she is learning Vietnamese, and she's a great person, and she's trying to become more connected to the Vietnamese community. So she'd be a great person to reach out to. If you look at her Facebook page, you will see announcements for events that are Japan centered, so you'll have a chance to use some Japanese and hear it there. So, and it says the weather in Japan is very comfortable and wonderful. Sometimes it's very comfortable and wonderful, and sometimes it's really humid, really like sticky. Like right now, I'm kind of sticky. I have my air conditioner on because a lot of humid. It's like sweaty. Japan, where I live in Japan, which is Kyoto, is a kind of like where I lived in the United States, Washington, D.C. 4 seasons, the summer, the fall, the winter, the spring. The summer is quite hot and sticky. The winter is pretty cold and not a lot of snow, and that's too bad. If it's going to be cold, you want to have snow because the snow is really, really beautiful. Hi, I just want to say hi again. I see some more people coming on. My name is Peter, and I have a Facebook page, Believe English, where I work on English. I live in Japan, where I teach in universities, and today I'm working with your group to do a live stream to see what kinds of questions you guys have about apparently Japan, which is cool, and about learning English. One person asked about Rika's name, and they spelled it R-I-T-A, and whoa, no, don't do that. I'm going to type in the correct spelling of her name, which is R-I-K-A. There it goes. And she's a Japanese person who is living in Ho Chi Minh City, and she is learning to speak Vietnamese, and she does a lot of public events, sort of outreach between Vietnam and Japan. One person asked me about pronunciation, what was difficult about English, and I think that one thing that is difficult is pronunciation, and I know that that's very important for people in Vietnam. So I have mentioned on my page, and I'll mention to you again, and who's Nguyen? This would be true for Japanese too. You can use computers now to help yourself practice pronunciation. You can use your phone. I have an iPhone, and there's a notes function, and you can talk to your phone, and your phone will write down what it hears you saying. And you can speak in English or Vietnamese or Japanese, and your phone will write it down. You can use Google Voice Search, and it's a lot of fun to do with images. So you put on images, and then you say like apple. And if Google hears the English word apple, you'll see lots of pictures of apple. If Google hears something else, you'll see pictures of something else, and you will know that you need to change the way you say apple. Okay, so I'm looking down through the question thread. I see 2 questions about listening, including listening to me. Listening to people in general it can be difficult, and listening to me right now can be very difficult. It's a little bit weird because I cannot see your face. I don't know what you understand. I don't get a sense of when something is not clear to you, and you are not able to really control me. There's the comment thread here where people are asking questions, which is great. I need to look at that more closely, and it's still too difficult because you can't tell me exactly, hey, you're going a little bit fast, or hey, what does that word mean? When you do talk to people, one thing you can do to control, of course, is always to ask people to go more slowly, if slowly is a problem, if the speed is a problem. The other thing that you can do is always tell people what you did here. Like right now, I'm going, and you go, oh my God, right? If you just say, I don't understand, many people might, okay, you don't understand, I am not going to talk to you. What you can do is say, hey, Peter, you're saying something about pronunciation and Japanese names. Are you saying that Japanese names are more difficult to pronounce than Vietnamese names? If you give me that information, then I know that you are listening to me. And I understand some of the things that you heard me say. We were talking about pronunciation. I was talking about names and Japanese names and Vietnamese names. And then I get the point that you missed. I said Japanese names are easier. You thought I said Vietnamese names were easier. So now we're really talking to each other, and I know that you are listening to me. So one way to control it is talking and telling people what you did here. Not I don't understand, but this is what I heard. How can I hear it better? Okay, So oh, good. Fan came back. He had mentioned something about coherence. And he's talking now to try, I asked him to kind of clear up, what do you mean by coherence? Is it pronunciation? Is it grammar? So one thing he's saying is he often stops when he's trying to speak to think about what to say next. And that can be a real problem because we listen to the rhythm of the whole sentence. And sometimes for English speakers, including me right now, we get kind of fast. Because the rhythm, the speed, is part of the pronunciation. If I talk very slowly like this, it's very hard for me to understand myself because I don't talk that way. I need to talk very slowly like this so that I can understand my pronunciation. In Vietnamese, often, you guys have one word, one word is one sound. In English, we often do like 3 words into one sound. How are you? How are you? How are you is one whole sound. How are you? I'm fine today. That's like 7 words, but it's really 2 sounds. How are you? I'm fine today. If you're talking to me and you stop every 2 or 3 seconds, I lose the rhythm, the rhythm, boom, 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 boom. I lose the rhythm of what you're saying, and I won't always understand your idea. I'll hear a bunch of words that I can't put together. I'm guessing you might be thinking in Vietnamese and speaking English because lots of people do that, and that's something that slows them down. They're trying to translate in their heads. I would suggest not, if you are doing that, don't. Try to think in English and speak in English. If you are doing that, I know IELTS tests is a different situation, but try to speak in simpler sentences so that you don't need to stop and think. The more complex sentences do require us, all of us, to stop and think. But practice, practice, practice. Talking to people, try recording yourself and then writing down what you hear. And in the first time you will pause, write down what you hear and fix it, make it really clean, and then read it again fluidly without the pauses and record it so that you can hear yourself with a before and an after. This is what I sound like when I pause. This is what I sound like when I don't pause. And when your brain hears your voice, not my voice, but your voice speaking fluidly, your brain will know, oh, that's me. I can do that, and that will help. Hi, Tao. Hi, Fan again. Great. Yeah, Siri on the iPhone is good. If you're going to practice pronunciation with a machine, there's more than one machine. Particularly Apple and Google have 2 different voice recognition systems. So if you're going to practice on a computer, I encourage you to use both. If you have access to an iPhone, use an iPhone. If you have an Android, use Android. If you're on a computer, use Google search. Huang is asking again about apps for English pronunciation. Yay, I got one. One is just talking to your phone. Talk to your phone and take notes. If you have an iPhone and your friend has an Android, switch phones and talk to each other's phones so that you can try both. If you have an Android, I have an app. This is my app. It's on the Google Play Store. It's called Be Here Now. And this app on your phone will let you practice something called minimal pair drills. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you what minimal pair drills are now. If you do not have an Android, if you have an Apple, an iPhone, I have an iPhone, so I can't use this app. But I also have a laptop, and on a laptop, I have a website. It's called Believe English. Oh, and on the website, down, there's this thing, this little microphone. And this is a pronunciation practice page. And if you go to the pronunciation practice page, go. So, and this works on Google. The app works on Google, and this desktop version works on Google as well. It doesn't work on an iPad though. So I'm just going to show you, but you can do this on a laptop. There's this little guy, that's me. And when you speak, you say head, heart, or hurt, I will point at the word that I hear. So if you are saying head, you want me to point at head. If you think you are saying head, if you think you're saying head, but I point at hurt, that kind of lets you know that I didn't hear the sound you want to make, and you want to change those sounds. And that is called minimal pairs. Whoa, I see some more comments. So I'm going to do the minimal pairs things and then run down through the comment thread for questions. So when you do minimal pairs, and this is pronunciation, and you can do this with your friends, you take some words that sound similar and give them numbers 1, 2, and 3. You say a word, and then people, where am I? Hello. You say a word. You say a word. This is me. You say a word, and then people hold up their fingers to show you what word they heard. It's not about you're right or wrong. It's only about you're making a sound and I'm hearing a sound. So I'll say a word now. We'll try it now. And you can just say to yourself what sound you hear. I'll say it 2 times. I'll say the word 2 times. And then you can put up your finger for yourself to know, I think Peter's saying this word. And then I'll show you with my fingers which sound I'm saying. So here I'll say a word. Do. 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 You. 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 And you can practice. So sometimes, like Vietnamese people, you often make the U sound, you often make a Z. So you might be saying zoo. How are zoo? And to me, it sounds like zoo. So you might say zoo, 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 and I'm pointing here, and you're thinking, I want to say you. And you practice changing the sound yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm only going to tell you what I hear. And I hear zoo. And you practice changing your sounds until you are thinking you and saying you, and I'm showing you that I hear you. And these are called minimal pairs. And this is what the app that I showed you will let you do, and this is what the website page that I showed you also will let you practice. If you do is asking foreigners to talk more slowly, it's not impolite at all. It's very nice. It shows them I'm listening to you. I want to understand you. So please talk more slowly so I can listen to you more. People like that. People like it when other people are listening to them. So not rude. It's wonderful that you want to do that. Okay. Exo says this is the way of learning English in Vietnam. I'm not sure what this refers to, but that's cool. It's something that we were talking about. Trang Tui is saying, can you teach me how to learn vocabulary? I think the most important thing you can do to learn vocabulary, and this is sort of essential vocabulary. The essential vocabulary is the words that you already know. So if you feel really good about dog and big and fast, or internationalization and import-export, start with those words and use those words to create more meaning. I did a song, and I love songs. Sing it. Take a word that you know and sing a simple song about it. And then look for other words that describe this thing that you know. So I did a song, and it's online somewhere, about like, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. And I sing about a cat. Cat's an easy word for most people. They know what a cat is. And then cats have four legs. Cats have 4 legs and a tail. Cats have 4 legs and a tail. So now I know what I call these things, legs, legs. And I know what a tail is. And now I remember it because I sang a song. To challenge myself, I can look for other words for legs or tail, or other words to describe cats. And some of them are quite difficult, like nocturnal or diurnal. That means they like to go out at night. So you say like cats are nocturnal, not diurnal. That's why you never see them at lunch. Something like that. Take the vocabulary that you know and use it to create more vocabulary. So the definitions of the new words and the associations of the new words for you are words that you know already. If you look up a difficult word in a dictionary, you're going to see a whole lot of more difficult words that you don't know describing the difficult word, and that's not helpful. You want to use words you know to build and create new words for yourself. Ung is saying, you just need to say, somebody asked me. That's true. That's a great way to control the conversation. Somebody asked me this, which introduces the new topic. It introduces it as a question. So I know you're going to tell me your answer, but you're also inviting me to respond and say, I agree with that answer, or I disagree, and I'll tell you why. Thian is saying, I want to speak English fluently, but when I start to talk to other people, I don't have anything to say. It's difficult for me to say what I want. How can I improve this? I think one thing to be aware of is sometimes we don't have anything to say. And that's all right. We can listen. And listening to other people makes them feel good. And it will make them want to talk with you more. And when you are ready to speak, those people will be ready to listen to you. And when you speak in English or any language, I think, you should really be saying something that you want to say, not just, I need to practice English. Where is the park? Is that a tree? Do you like bananas? But really think, when you meet a foreign person in the park, what do you really want to know? Do you really want to know if they like bananas? That's okay. Then really ask them, do you like bananas? Because I love bananas. And my favorite banana lady is over here selling these bananas. And then you'll know what to say, because you're saying something that really means something to you. It's not just random English. And if you don't have anything to say, that's okay. You can just be there. You can be listening and showing people, I'm here, I'm listening to you, and I'm paying attention. And people will really respect that. How can I think in English? Well, thinking. You can do it's a little hard to develop. It's something that I've kind of trained myself to try to do for Vietnamese or Japanese. Sometimes I start by speaking out loud to myself, which I feel a little weird about, but I do it. You know, when you get up and just think, it's morning time, I'm going to eat, what am I going to eat for breakfast? Sáng nay ăn gì? Đói bụng quá, tối mua ăn bánh mì tít. So I just kind of talk to myself out loud, and it lets my brain know, hey, we're not using English. The other thing that I do, I'm looking around my house. No. When I do study Japanese or Vietnamese, I buy a textbook. Because I live in Japan, this is easy for me. I buy a textbook that's not in English. So I have a textbook about Japanese that's for Vietnamese people. So the explanations are in Vietnamese. Ikimasu nghĩa là gì? Đi. So I'm not using English. My brain is like, this is not English. This is all language. Ikimasu, the verb to go. And the explanation in my mind is not ikimasu means go. It means ikimasu is đi. And then I'm not thinking in English, at least. I'm thinking in Vietnamese, which makes my Vietnamese a little stronger. But it trains my mind to not try to do that translating. Hua is asking about collocation and how to use it effectively. There are so many to remember. There are too many to remember. A lot of this stuff in English is crazy, and you can't remember it. So I wouldn't try to remember it. I would try to read. Read. If you read a lot, you will see all of these collocations. You will see all of the idioms, and they will just become normal to you. That's how English-speaking people learn the language by reading. And you can really hear a difference. Well, I can really hear a difference. When I'm speaking to native English-speaking people, when I'm in America, when I'm speaking to people who are not well-educated, people who did not go to school, or people who went to school but they were sleeping in school and they don't read, and you can go into many people's houses and you will see 0 books in their house. They don't read. And when you listen to them speak, they don't speak the way I speak. The kinds of words that they use, the structure of their sentences, the way their ideas are organized are very different from the way that I speak. And the way that I speak is the way that IELTS wants you to speak. So at least as far as taking a test, you want to have my kind of English. And the way you get it, the way I got it, is by reading. Just read. Read all the time. When you read, I'm Peter. I'm sorry, I'm checking back in. I'm Peter. I do a page called Believe English in English on Facebook. And that's a place that you can read English every day. And it's under control. It's not a 200-page book that's scary to read. It's a post of 100 words or 20 words or 5 words. It's very easy to read in English. So you can look at it, you can comment it on it, and it's not too intimidating. And I would encourage you to do that. Hi, Anne. Mon has a longer question. Let's see. When communicating with foreigners, I can understand what they say and know how to answer. But sometimes I don't have an idea of what to say to make the conversation better. Can I suggest topics that people are interested in talking about? Well, we're all interested in talking about ourselves. So you can always ask people, about themselves and about their opinion and their experience. And one way to do this is to tell people what you heard them say. It sounds a little crazy, but it really works. It works as a way of showing a person that I care about you, I'm listening to you. It also works as a way to improve your English, saying back what you heard. So if I say, hi, I'm Peter, I come from America, I'm here on vacation, you can say back to me, oh, hi, Peter. So you came to Vietnam from America for a vacation. You're just telling me what I told you. And I feel really good. You call me by my name. You were listening to me. You really were, because you told me I'm from America, I'm here on vacation. I'm like, yeah, that's right. I came here on vacation and I'm so happy. Oh, you really happy to be here on vacation, Peter? What's making you happy? You're really listening to me and you're encouraging me to talk more about myself. And we all love to talk about ourselves. And we like to know that people are listening to us. And I mean this in a very serious way, not just for practicing language, but for being a person. Somebody really listened to me. And it doesn't have to be a super important conversation, just good morning. How many times have you said good morning or hello to somebody and they didn't even say good morning back to you? It's like you aren't there, and that hurts. If you can just say good morning and somebody else hears you and they look at you in the eye and they say good morning, it feels really good. That's what you can do. When you're talking to other people, it's not a test. If you don't have something to say, that's okay too. You can just be there. You can be, hey, I'm glad I met you. We just stand here, and look around. And that's okay. That's what we do in cafes a lot of times with our friends, is we sit and we look around. And that's good. Show people you're listening. That's what they're going to really like. No, I hope, is that your name or is that university? A university thing. How can I improve my skill of listening? One is talking to people, of course. The other things that we can do, particularly now that we have things like the computer, is watch something in stages. So if you have a TV show that you're going to watch or a TED Talk, first, you can do this in both directions. One direction is you watch the TED Talk with no sound on, just to collect ideas. What do you think this person is talking about? And if you can do this with a friend, that's even better. Watch it with no sound on and make some notes or talk to yourself or talk to your friend and say, I think this guy's talking about solar energy because I see a solar panel. And when you talk about solar energy, you talk about kilowatts. And I think he's telling us that solar energy is better than using nuclear energy because he showed a nuclear power plant and it was dirty. And think about why you think they're saying these things. And then listen a second time. With a TED Talk, you could listen a second time with the volume on and check your understanding. Are they talking about solar power? Did they say that solar power was better than nuclear power? And then check and talk to your friend again or look at your notes. And if something was wrong, change it. If you heard a new vocabulary word, write it down. And then restate, now I'm sure that this person was saying this and this. And then with a TED Talk, because they have transcripts and subtitles, you can watch it again with the subtitles or read through the transcript to really check your understanding. And you can do that backwards, of course, too. Read the transcript first so you know what the person is going to say. Even if you don't understand every word, you've read it once so you understand what they're trying to say. And then listen to it. Just the sound, and then listen to it with visual clues, which might be signs like this. Whoa, God, I can't do this. Woo, this one. This, never mind. This sign, this is Peter and Believe English, and that's who I am. And now you can confirm that's right. That's why that sign is sitting there behind this guy, because it's his name, and that's the name of his page. So those things will help you a lot with your listening. Sun Nguyen is asking, replying to somebody. It's an intransitive verb, but I have just seen a question using collapse in a passive voice. Sun, if you have that question, can you write the whole question down, like the bridge collapsed? When did the bridge collapse? What caused the bridge to collapse, maybe? I'm not sure, but we can ask questions. How was the bridge collapsed? Well, that would be wrong, but that's maybe what somebody asked. So if you see the specific question, throw it in the comments section so I can give you a more thoughtful answer. Hua is asking about feeling shy when she speaks English and how can she be more confident. I don't know. I mean, I don't know you personally. Maybe you are a shy person, and that's okay. I'm actually a very shy person. When I have a context like this, today I'm doing a live stream, and this is the Peter show. So cool, here I am. I'm Peter. I'm going to talk to you. But if there's a party Friday night, I'm not going. I'm a shy guy. I'm not going to the party. And if for some reason I was at the party, I'm not running around saying hello to everybody. I'm the guy sitting in the corner drinking my coffee. That's who I am, and that's okay. So if you're shy, I would feel like this is part of who I am. And people who speak to me in English or speak to me in Vietnamese, I'm the shy person, and that's part of it. And that's okay if I don't say anything. I'm here because I care, because I'm listening. If you want to be more confident, the thing that I would encourage you to remember with English is you are doing something really beautiful and something really kind. Because people like me, we don't speak Vietnamese. I can't walk up to you and say, hello, how are you? Especially in Vietnam, there are lots of people who are traveling, tourists, and they don't speak Vietnamese. And God, they would love it if they could meet a Vietnamese person. That is going to be the thing that they tell all of their friends about and that they remember. I went on a trip to Vietnam and I met Hua, and Hua was really cool. For that to happen, you need to walk up to them and say, hello, how are you? My name is Hua. Are you visiting? Are you having a nice time? And there's nothing to be shy about there. There's a little bit shy, like talking to people, but really what you're doing is you're being really, really kind. You're reaching out to another person and making them feel welcome. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to speak English well. You don't have to know the answers to their questions. You just have to know, I'm trying to be nice to you. I'm being kind. And that's something to feel very good about, because a lot of people in the world are not very kind. So when we can be kind to each other, wow. And that's what people remember. They're not going to say, I met Hua and her English was terrible. They're going to say, I was in Vietnam and I met this really kind, wonderful person, Hua, who came up and talked to me and made me feel welcome. And now I feel really good about Vietnam. So, you know, if you're shy, that's cool. If you're using English, be confident, because you're doing something really wonderful and kind for another person. And there's nothing to be ashamed of or shy about with that. Okay, I think the answer is A. The old church blank in the last storm. Thank you for putting the question up. I don't see the answer choices. The old church collapsed in the last storm. That's what I would say if you're talking about the verb collapsed. And I don't get the passive part, but here's what I would say. When you do this kind of stuff, and if you've seen my comments on your group page, particularly the other group page about IELTS, when people do this thing like A or D, I don't think it's enough. I really think that you should explain the answers. So if you have a question like this, whoa, I can't do this. It says, I blank donuts every day. Then you really want to explain, the answer. If the answer is A, eat, you want to be able to say in English, why? The answer is A, eat, because the subject of the sentence is I, which is first person singular, and the verb tense is present because it's every day. So you should be able to say the answer is A because it's first person singular present tense. If you cannot say all of those things, you might be able to just look at the pattern. I eat, you eat, he, she, it eats, and explain the answer. And that would be true also with the old church collapsed or collapsing or is collapsing. As a part of that, if you look at the answers A and D in your sentence, in your question, son, then do the same thing. Explain the wrong answer. If the key says the answer is D, try to figure out why. Hopefully in the book, they will tell you why the answer is D. So for this one, I would say for the wrong answer, if you chose B, eats, which is wrong, I would say eats is a third person singular. Eats is he, she, or it. The subject of the sentence is I, which is first person singular. And so B is incorrect. And then, and son, this is the big one for you, make all of the answers correct. Make the wrong answers right. If the answer is A, I eat donuts every day, that's cool. Change the sentence so that the answer B can also be correct. And it would be she eats donuts every day. And I would do that with this sentence about the church. Whatever the answer A is, write the sentence so that A is correct. Whatever D is, write the sentence so that D is correct. Yes, son, that's right. Eat. I eat donuts every day because it's first person singular. Every time you go through these multiple choice questions and you really want to do this, even if you do it in Vietnamese, it's really cool if you can do this in English, but doing it in Vietnamese is cool too. Explain the answer. Whoa, explain the answer. Why is the answer correct? Talk about the wrong answers. Don't just throw them away. They're there for a reason because they are related to the question. Explain why they are wrong. And then make them right. Write the sentence again so that the wrong answers become correct. And then you'll be ready for a real test because they're not going to ask you the same question again on a real test. They're going to ask different questions using the same kinds of grammar. So by making all of the sentences correct, all the answer choices correct, you're ready for any question on a test. Okay, I just want to check back in. Hello, people who are with us. Thank you for being here. My name is Peter. I run my own page called Believe English, Facebook page. It's a website. It's on YouTube. It's on Instagram. And it's about how to learn English. My page is all in English. The questions are in English. The comments are in English, which I think is really good for you guys. This group, the questions and the comments are mostly in Vietnamese, which is very helpful and good. And you can learn a lot from each other. The next step, particularly once you get past the test, you're kind of getting ready for the test, and using Vietnamese makes that a little faster and simpler in some ways. If you're going to use English for real, you have to be ready for the next step. And the next step is using English always. Thinking in English, thinking about questions on tests in English, why is that answer correct, and thinking about it in English, and being able to say to yourself in English, this answer is correct because. Being able to say to yourself why the other answers are not correct in English. And being able to take all of those answers and changing them to make them correct in English. When I was teaching high school in the United States, I did this a lot with my students. Because in the United States, which is a little different from Japan and Vietnam, we like to at least say that we are not preparing our students for tests. We're preparing our students for life. We're giving them thinking skills, not answers, but developing their minds so that they're ready to go out and find their own answers, not remember the answers. The Japanese education system, a little bit the Vietnamese education system, is based around, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of answers, and then on the test, you're going to give those answers back to me. You don't have to understand the answers. You don't have to be able to do something with the answers, except give them back to me. In the States, in the United States, we kind of want people to do something with the information. I'm not giving you answers. I'm giving you information. I'm giving you 1 and 1. And I want to see what you can do with that. And you can do 1 + 1 = 2. Cool, good for you. You can do 1 - 1 = 0. Wow, that's awesome. You can do 1/1 = 1. Super. Those are things that you can do. So when we're teaching our students, we do a lot of writing where they have to create their own ideas. You do a book report. Tell me the name of the book. Tell me 1 paragraph, a very quick, super quick summary of the book. Romeo and Juliet is a love story. 2 people who are not supposed to love each other do love each other, and their families don't like it. And now you need to tell me what you know, how you understand the book, and how you apply that lesson to something outside. So when we read Romeo and Juliet, we can see some of the issues surrounding immigration in the United States. What happens when people from many different cultures come and live together? How can they become a family, basically? How can we love each other in America when we're all different? And that's not in Romeo and Juliet. That's in you. That's in your brain. That's in your life experience. And you're using the information, Romeo and Juliet, to create new understanding, to basically teach me. And that's what we really want our students to get out of an education in the United States. And that's not what happens here. I have a lot of problems teaching in Japan, getting people to tell me what they think. They're very good at telling me what I already know. Romeo and Juliet is a play. Romeo and Juliet was written by Shakespeare. Romeo and Juliet, I know that. I already know that. I read the play. But that's what they're told. Tell me what you saw, give it back to me, and now you pass the test. Son, okay, it's common that Vietnamese use intransitive verbs in the passive voice. Okay, well, you can be uncommon and don't do that. You can use English any way you want to, because English is your language. Now, when you speak it, you create it, and you decide how you want to use it. And I would encourage you and anybody and me to use simpler English. It helps other people listen to you more. It makes your ideas very clear, and when they are very clear, they are very powerful. And it's hard. it's hard to use simple language in a powerful way. You can look at your song lyrics. Songs are very short. They're not books. They're very short, and in many ways, they're very, very simple, and they're very, very powerful. Man, people love songs, and the lessons they take from those songs, they keep them, and they use those lessons to drive their lives. Songs motivate us with very simple language, but very powerful language. So son, if you don't like some of the things that you see, the way English is used, you can use English differently. It's good that you have an understanding. This is what people are doing. They're using the intransitive verbs in the passive voice. I don't like it. It doesn't work for me. I don't think it's very clear. And I agree with you. It's not very clear. So change it. Say things in the active voice. You can be the uncommon English speaker. That's what it's all about. English is your language now that you speak it. It's great that you guys are doing this. We have some new people watching. Thank you. I'm Peter. I have an English page also on Facebook called Believe English. My page is all in English, and we're reaching out now kind of between pages today to do this live stream to help you all ask your questions about English and get a chance to listen to somebody like me, a native English speaker, talk to you about English. I've been going pretty fast. Some people have commented before that it can be difficult to listen, and it is. And I think that's a bigger lesson from a live stream, and this will be true when you do the IELTS test or TOEIC or TOEFL. The listening that you do is fake. You're not talking to a person. You're often talking to a voice like this that's somewhere else, and that's hard. It's hard in English. And I want you to be mindful of that so that you don't feel bad about yourselves. When you're talking to a real person, face to face, you have much more control. You can send visual signals that I'm listening or I'm not listening or I'm confused, and that will tell the other person, I need to go more slowly, I need to change what I've said and say it again in a different way. And of course, you can interrupt and say, hey, I want to check. Did you say this? I heard this word. Did you mean this? And those are important skills. When you can't do that, you have to find other ways to practice. One way could be trying to do things on the telephone. I hate calling. I live in Japan, and sometimes I have to call businesses on the phone. And it's really, really hard. It's hard for the businesses to understand me because I do make mistakes. And it's hard for me to understand the business people on the phone. I can't see their face. They can't see my face. They can't let me know with visual clues that this word is important and this word is not important. And I can't let them know with visual clues what I really want them to understand. So if you want to practice listening, one way you could do that is with talking to each other on the phones. I see we got one more new person. Ian, thank you for joining. You got a question? I think I've gone through all the questions. If you asked a question and I did not answer the question, please put it back in the comments thread. I'm not super awesome at looking at comments. I'm going back through the comments now to make sure. I want to touch on two questions that were asked earlier. Tran was asking about thinking in English, and Hua was asking about using collocations. And one answer that I gave before, and I want to give again because it's very important, is reading. Read in English. And well, you can read Believe English because my English is pretty good and I check my English, but you don't really want to read the internet. Internet English often is not good. It's often literally incorrect. The wrong words, bad punctuation, things like this. You want to read books. You want to read a physical book. Because when somebody writes a book, they take a lot of time to write the book. And this guy probably spent, I don't know, 2 years or 3 years writing this book. which means they write a sentence and they look at the sentence and they fix the sentence and they hire somebody else. They pay an editor money to look at the book and to fix their mistakes, because we all make mistakes. I made a mistake just yesterday, and one of you guys in Vietnam saw my mistake and you fixed it for me. Thank you very much. I did let's. I did singing let's. And I did the wrong let's. Singing. I did this. Whoa, singing lets us be happy. And of course, that's wrong. This is let's, like let's go to school, let's go to karaoke. And it should be let's with no apostrophe. And I didn't see it. I made a mistake. And somebody told me, hey, you made this mistake. And I said, thank you. And I fixed the mistake. And that's what you want to do. You want to read English that people are paying attention to. And on the internet, mostly people are not paying attention. So you want to read a book. Read. This will help your brain think in English, because when we are reading, we are thinking in the language we are reading. This will help you with idioms and collocations, because that's what's in the books. And when reading becomes very normal to you, then taking a test will be normal to you, because that's what tests are. Tests are reading. Here's 20 pages of English. Read it and answer these questions. If reading is normal to you, great. I love reading. I read every day. Give me the 20-page test. Make it a 40-page test, because I'm going to read it. I like reading. If reading is not normal for you, if you don't like reading, the test is going to destroy you, because you're not even going to see the English. You're just going to see, oh God, it's reading. I hate reading. And that's what your brain will be doing. Reading sucks. I'm a bad reader. That's it. Make reading normal. Hua is asking if is IELTS a useful exam? Oh man. Well, on a very practical level, yes. IELTS and TOEFL are useful because that's the way that colleges will decide, can you come and study in our school? And sometimes that's the way businesses will decide, are we going to hire you to be a person who uses English in our business? And they're going to look at that number. If your number is 7, good. If your number is 5, no thank you. In that respect, they're useful tests. And some kind of test is useful because most of us need to know that we're going to be checked. Right? I'm going to grade this paper. If I'm not going to grade the paper, many people are not going to do it. So if I say to you, you're going to take an IELTS test, then that motivates a lot of people to study a little bit harder. I think the thing that's difficult about IELTS and TOEFL that's not useful is they're trying to measure the way that we use a language. And accuracy is only a very small part of it. I mentioned earlier in the live stream that the way I speak English is not the way that many native English speaking people speak English. If you listen to our president, my president, Donald Trump, speak English, he does not speak English like me. His English is really, really bad. If he took an IELTS score, he would not get a native English speaker score. He makes grammatical mistakes. Many of his sentences are incomplete. He begins them, but he does not finish them, and he often changes the topic. So if the IELTS person asks him about topic A, probably he's going to answer about topic E, and they're going to give him a very low score. But he is a native English speaker of English, and he is the president of the United States. So even if his IELTS score is very, very low, you know, it doesn't reflect on him and what he is able to do in the United States in an English-speaking environment. And we have some people in our country like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who you might know, he's a movie star, and he has a heavy accent. He's from Austria, so he has a German accent, and it's very strong. But people understand him. He was very successful as a movie star in the United States, and he became the governor of California, the state of California. So, so what? He's got an accent. Okay. And he's the governor of California. So the tests measure one small thing, and they are useful because they will get you into your study abroad program, and they can get you into your job at the bank. But I really don't want people to think that they are a measure of what you have to say. Some people asked about being shy and how do I talk to foreigners? And the answer is, be you. And the IELTS test doesn't measure that. And when you have English, after you take the test and after you go to school or get your job, you're going to use English just to be a person, to be a nice person, to be kind to other people. And the IELTS can't measure that. Are you willing to stand up and talk to people? Some people were asking me about my Japanese students and how English is used here, and there are people here who did very well on the test. And they don't do very well on talking. They're afraid to talk. They think it's still a test. And they don't allow themselves to use the English that they have. And they don't allow themselves to enjoy it. They feel very, very nervous when they're speaking because they're very aware that I might be making a mistake now. And they're not thinking about, I'm being a good person now. I'm helping somebody now. I'm being kind, right? Somebody who does not speak Japanese, that's okay. I will talk to them in English and make them feel welcome. And that's a good thing, but they're nervous. They're more like, oh, this is a test and I'm gonna make a mistake. And I don't want you guys to feel like that. I see a couple more people join. Han and Lynn, thank you for joining. If you guys have some questions, I hope you will ask them in the comments section so that I can answer them. We've been talking a little bit about Japanese education and American education. We talked a little bit about learning strategies. I want to go through the three that I got excited about. One is minimal pairs. When you want to practice pronunciation, write down words that sound almost the same and get people to listen to you saying these words and let them show you what they hear. So nobody tells you you are right or you are wrong. They only tell you what they hear. So if you want to say do, whoop, do, and I tell you I hear you, you're not wrong. You're really good at saying you. But hey, I don't want to say, I can't do this. I don't want to say you. I want to say do. And you start exploring with your mouth the changes that you can make so that the sounds you make are do. And people just show you with their fingers what they hear. And you keep practicing until you are saying the same thing that people are hearing. And this is called minimal pairs. And there's an app. Where'd my little guy go? There's an app that will help you do this. You can do this on your phone with notes and with a Google Voice search. If you have a desktop, you can do it on my site, Believe English. I have this little guy who will listen to you and he will show you what he hears. And if you have an Android phone, there is an app. It's free, and you can put it on your phone, and you'll get the same thing. Let's see. It'll show you. It doesn't show. You'll see this guy. You'll see this guy who is me, and he will listen to you, and he will tell you what he hears. I know on your pages, you guys ask each other about questions on IELTS and TOEIC a lot. But usually you just ask each other, what does the key say? And you get answers like A, B, C, D. And that's not very helpful because A, B, C, D are not English. Nobody says A, B, C, D. We don't talk to each other that way. We say complete ideas to each other. So when you fix these questions, I encourage you to explain the answer. If the answer is A, I eat donuts every day, you need to say why. It's eat because I is the subject of the sentence. I is first person singular. Whoa. And every day
shows us the verb tense. It's the present tense. And so it should be eat, the first person singular present tense. If you can't say all of that, then you can maybe just go through the pattern. I eat, you eat, he eats, and we see I in the sentence, and so it must be eats. So I really think you should explain the answers, and ideally you explain the answers in English. You should also explain the wrong answer so that when you see the wrong answer in the next question, you'll know what it is. So I blank donuts every day. B is the wrong answer, but it's wrong for a reason. Eats is third person singular, he, she, it. And the subject in this question is I, first person. And so B is incorrect. And then there's more to do. Make the wrong answers right. Whoa. Make the wrong answers right. Write the sentence again so that every answer is correct. In this example, I eat donuts every day is correct, and that's what the test wants you to know. But it's your brain. You can do more with it. Take that answer B that's wrong and make it right. Change the sentence. She eats donuts every day. Oops, I made a mistake. Anybody see my mistake? I made a mistake. I just saw it. I didn't put a period at the end of my sentence. You guys got to check for that. I see that a lot, actually, not in this group, but the other group that's similar for getting ready for TOEIC and IELTS. People put questions online and they don't edit their questions very carefully. So often there are not capital letters at the beginning of the sentence, and often there are not periods at the ends of the sentence, and there should be. It's a good discipline to show yourself that you're really writing English and you're writing it carefully, which is what tests will check for. So one more time, my name is Peter. I'm from America. I live in Japan. In America, I taught high school English for 15 years to immigrants, people who were coming to America from other countries, and they did not speak English, and they needed to learn English first before they could join the regular high school classes. Now I live in Japan. I live in Kyoto, which is the ancient capital of Japan. It's a beautiful city. If you come to Japan, you really need to come to Kyoto. And I teach at universities here in Japan. I teach English. I also teach content courses in English. So the main purpose is to give people a chance to use their English in a meaningful way. Not just ABCD, but let's talk about something. The class that I will start tomorrow is a class about art. So we'll talk about paintings like the Mona Lisa, and why is the Mona Lisa beautiful, and how do we talk about that beauty, and what do we learn about it? And we do that in English so that the English has meaning. It's not just I is the subject of the sentence and I is first person singular and that kind of stuff, which isn't very interesting. We talk about things that matter to people, and we do it in English, and that makes the English useful for them. I also run this Facebook page, my Facebook page called Believe English. I do my things in English. So all the questions on my page are in English. All the comments are in English. And if you want to practice English, you can comment there and I respond to every comment. So you will be heard. You will get some kind of answer to your question. If I see a mistake in your English, I will fix that English. I'm on Facebook. I put some movies on YouTube. I have a website, Believe English, that has some longer posts, and it has the pronunciation practice app on it as well. And I am a member of this group, so I do look on to the group once a day, and I try to respond to 3 people a day. That's kind of my target. Tomorrow I'm going to start working. Again, I might get really busy, so I'm not sure how often I will be able to look on the page and how many comments I will be able to give. But I do look and I will comment in English. You can ask me on the page. You can tag me for a question, or you can come to my page and ask on my page in English. There's a group called Believe English that helps people ask questions directly in English and answer them in English. Zung Mail, you joined. Thank you for joining. If you have a question, please ask your question. And I'm going to look back through the questions again to make sure. Nobody posted one that I missed, so maybe I answered everybody's questions. I want to check. I'm looking backwards one more time. I think I answered all the questions. Many people asked about listening. And I want to remind you, when you are listening, it's really important that you show yourself and the other person that you are listening to them. And one way to do this is to stop them once in a while and tell people what you heard. So again, on the very simple level, if you go to the park and you meet somebody and, hi, what's your name? Where are you from? Hi, I'm Peter. I'm blah, 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 blah. You need to stop me then and say, oh, hi, Peter. So you came from America to Vietnam for vacation. You're just telling me what I told you. But that lets me know that you're really listening to me. You heard the things that I said. And that tells your brain, I'm listening to this person. I'm paying attention, and this is what I heard. And if you didn't hear something, I will fill it in. So you might say, oh, Peter, so you said you're from America and you're coming to Vietnam for vacation? And I said, oh, no. I'm not here for vacation. I'm here on a business trip. And that's a way to check your listening. Tell the person what you heard. If you don't understand anything, tell them that. Well, I take it back. Tell them one tiny thing. Like if you just say, I don't understand, which happens a lot. I don't understand. I don't speak English. You're telling your brain to stop listening first. And you're telling me to stop talking to you because you are not listening. So, okay, I won't talk to you. Tell your brain and tell me something. You can say, I can't understand. I know you are talking to me. I know you are speaking English to me. English is really hard for me. Ask me something that you can understand. Slow me down. If you can understand, what's your name? My name is Peter. Then ask me that. It's okay if I'm so whoa. Hi. Thank you. My English is not really good. Can you tell me what your name is? Oh, yeah, my name is Peter. Oh, hi, Peter. Now, make the conversation go more slowly. Make the conversation be things that you can understand. By telling me what you heard, telling me what you did understand, and ask me if you understood most of it, but not something. Tell me specifically what you did not understand. If I say, hi, my name is Peter. I came to Vietnam for a vacation, and you don't know the word vacation, you could tell me that. Either you say, oh, hi, Peter. You said you came to Vietnam for vacation. I don't know what a vacation is. Can you tell me what vacation is? Or you can tell me you came from America. Why? And I can tell you again, vacation. And now I know the word that you don't understand. And I can change it. I might say I came for a holiday, or I just came for fun for 1 week to have a good time. And now you're controlling the conversation. Okay, I see a new question from Fat. If you want to read a book in English, what book do I recommend that you read? I would suggest to you anything that is interesting to you. If you like cars, read a book about cars. If you like the stars and the moon, read a book about astronomy. Because if you are not interested in the topic of the book, you're not going to read the book. You're going to get the book, you're going to put the book down on a table, and you're never going to read it. So first is something that's interesting to you. If reading is hard for you, I would start with a simple book. I love children's books. I read them as an adult. I read English children's books. I read Japanese children's books. I just think they're beautiful. So I would read a children's book. If your English is a little stronger, One book that I love that you have heard about, and I know it's very easy to get, like everywhere in the world, I'm putting it in the comments section, is The Little Prince. Thought I put it in the comment. Oh, there it is, The Little Prince. It's good English. It's a great story. It's not very long. When people pick up a book that's too long, they stop reading it because it's too difficult. When people start to read Shakespeare, including English-speaking people, we stop because we don't understand it and we don't enjoy it. Whatever you read, make sure it's something that you enjoy. There's a great book. It's somewhere on my website. I'll look for it and I'll repost it soon, today or tomorrow, on my Believe English page. There's a book called Seed Folks that I really love. It's a little bit hard to find, but I know you can find it at least online, although it's much better to hold a physical book in your hand. There's a great book about English by a guy named Bill Bryson. You might be able to find this in Vietnam in a bookstore. And this is a book about the English language, about why English is such a crazy language and why our rules don't make any sense. So if you're really interested in learning English, it's a great book to read. It doesn't make you learn rules. It just explains these are what people say the rules are. These are why these rules exist. This is how these rules change. And it's a very easy book to read. It's not very technical. It's very funny. I encourage you to read a book like that. Anne just joined. Hi. Clean Nguyen joined a little while ago. Hi. I'm going to stop pretty soon. I want to make sure that people who just joined, if you have a question and you want to ask your question, please put it in the comments section and I will answer it in the next couple minutes. And I'm going to slowly finish the live stream. So if you want to ask a question, please do. My name is Peter. I run a Facebook page called Believe English. I am from the United States. I taught high school in the United States. I taught English for English-speaking people. I taught ESL. I taught history, world history, and United States history. And now I live in Japan, and I teach English in universities in Japan. I'm going to start my classes again tomorrow, so it's going to get a little busy for me and a little bit crazy. But I do run a Facebook page, and I put things on a website, and I come to groups like this. I'm in this group, and I try to comment on like 3 people's posts a day. I don't know if I will still be able to do that once classes start. I'm going to get pretty busy. And we got to do this live stream today, which was a lot of fun for me. I hope it was helpful for you guys. The live stream will, of course, still be online later. You can look at it again. And if you have more questions, please ask them in the comments section. If you don't see an answer from me, you got to tag me. This live stream might appear in 2 or 3 different Facebook pages, but I will be checking for new questions and I will try to answer those questions as well. Thank you for coming and watching today. Please ask questions still. If you're watching this live stream tomorrow or next week or next year, that's cool. Ask some questions. I'll still be around and I will try and answer them. All right. Ooh, one new comment. Yes, son, that's right. Love The Little Prince. It's a great book. And it's a book that I'm sure you can find in Vietnamese. So if you read it first in English, you can sort of check your understanding by reading it again in Vietnamese, or you could read it first in Vietnamese so you already kind of know what the book is going to say, and that will make reading the English a lot easier. All right, on that very happy note, thank you all so much for joining the live stream and being part of the live stream. I hope I'll see you around on one of these Facebook pages. I'll be checking back in this group, and of course you can look on my page. And this live stream will still be online, so you can ask questions later in the comments and I will respond to them. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a great weekend. I'm going to get ready for my real live classes with real live people starting tomorrow. I got to shave and iron my clothes and stuff like that. All right. See you again sometime. Bye-bye. Whoops. Yes. In the end, if you end this live video now, you'll be a yes. Okay. Did I end it? I'm ending it. Okay, bye-bye.